Yeah, sorry, I'm joining late, but I'm here.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we're gonna kick it off here. Commissioner Wilson, call the meeting to order.
All right, I call the regular Open Spaces Commission meeting to order for June 27th, 2022. Robert, can we have a roll call?
Of course, yeah, Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Wrestler.
I'm here, and I'll be en route on my bike. I'll be on mute for the next few minutes, but I'm here.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for joining us. Be careful, yeah. Commissioner Appler, I think is not present today. Commissioner Burton.
Present.
Commissioner Losat.
I'm here.
Commissioner Norton.
I'm here.
Commissioner Wallen.
Present.
And just so you know, Commissioners, Councilmember Representative Kara House couldn't make it today because of a meeting she had, but she did send me some notes for.
During that part of the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so item number 3, the land acknowledgement statement. The Flagstaff Open Spaces Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to the indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. And we celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place is home. Okay, and moving on to the approval of the May 23rd meeting minutes. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to at least review it a little bit. Is there any discussion or corrections to the minutes of May 23rd as they're written? Hearing none. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
This is Andy, I'll second.
And the second was Andy?
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as written. All right, down to public participation. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission on any subject that is not scheduled before the commission on this day. The Arizona Open Meeting Law prohibits the commission from discussing or acting on an item which is not listed on the prepared agenda. Commission members may, however, respond to criticism made by those addressing the commission, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda. To address the commission on an item that is on the agenda, please wait for the chair to call for public comment at the time the item is heard. So with that, is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on a subject that's not on the agenda for tonight? Hearing none. I guess, can I take a spot on the public participation?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to, welcome all the new members to the commission. And at the suggestion maybe that we can go around and introduce ourselves and just say a few words about maybe how you ended up here. What brought you to the Open Spaces Commission?
Yeah, so I can just make an announcement for Commissioner Linda Wallen. She is new to our commission, just appointed to City Council, so really glad to have you. Thanks so much for being. So, and I can actually start.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just Robert, and I work for the city's open space program, and I'm the liaison for the commission. So please feel free to send me any questions that you have about agendas, or if you'd like to see a future agenda item come up, just feel free to reach out. So here to support you guys. Mike, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm Mike Wilson. Been the chair of the commission the last 2 years, and I've been on the commission itself for a little over 4 years. I originally came to Flagstaff to go to NAU and be part of the forestry program here back in the mid-70s, a long time ago. I met my wife here, but she was from San Diego, so that's where we ended up raising our family. But in retirement, I've always loved hiking, camping, travel, space. So it's always been very important. So when we came back in retirement about 10 years ago, I was looking for a way to contribute a little bit and be part of what I love to do. So that's why I'm here.
Should I call these folks in order, or how would you like me?
Whatever is easiest.
Yeah, I'll just go right through the order that we have on that commission, if that's okay. So Commissioner Messler, do you mind introducing yourself? Oh, sorry, he's in trans. Probably can't. Commissioner Burke, want to go?
Yeah, sure. I'm native to Arizona. Been here my whole life, and half my life in down in the valley, and half my life up here in the mountains. So I worked for the Forest Service. Been with the Forest Service for a very long time, and wanted to get involved in the city and try to give back to my community. And so about 8 years, was appointed 8 years ago, appointed to the Open Space Commission, and have been along for the ride since. And a lot of cool things have happened along the way with the work that we've done out at Picture King with interpretation and improvements to, where we're going now with observatory Mesa and in the trail system, and actually being able to open that up very well to the public, and then McMillan Mesa, and what that holds in store for the future. So it's been a really cool journey along the way, and then also looking even further out and how the foots all intersects and everything, along with other just parcels within the city. So it's been awesome to participate.
I just want to add that Commissioner, it's been wonderful to have you on the commission, and we're sorry to see you go, but we really appreciate you all everything you've done for the commission moving forward. And our last commission appointment should be on July 5th. So this is Jim's last meeting. Thanks so much for your time. Commissioner Losek?
Hey, everybody, this is Mark Loseth. I've lived in Flagstaff for a little over 10 years now. My background is doing a lot of trail work and outdoor recreation industry, whether it's working on trails or thinking about trails. It's been kind of what I've done for my entire adult life. So I moved to Flagstaff for a trail job. Absolutely fell in love with this place and am still hoping to make this my permanent home. And the reason I got involved in the Open Space Commission is just because I think the open spaces that the city of Flagstaff have are such an amazing asset to the community and the city and the land that we have around us, that, I was hoping to be able to take part and do what I can. So here I am.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Norton?
Good afternoon, everybody. I am the Planning and Zoning Liaison to the Open Spaces Commission. I was appointed to P&Z in February, so that's also a new commission to me. And then this commission needed the liaison position filled, and since I enjoy the trails and open space and the forest in Flagstaff, it was something I wanted to participate in. I've been in Flagstaff for 7.5 years, and I retired in December of 2019, right before the pandemic. And so that certainly changed some travel plans. We pivoted, as everybody has, and anyway, it's given me the chance to be more involved in a volunteer capacity in the community, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Wall?
Well, I'm the newcomer here. My name is Lena Wallen. I come to Flagstaff 30 years ago to retire, actually. Both of us, I and my husband, the profession is teaching. My background is in terms of psychology, child development psychology. That's why my focus is really on children. The plan is both of us telling each other, we will not get involved in community at all. So, but the second week that we are here, I don't know, Jim, maybe you remember that there is a kid that got killed in front of Kmart with, and I keep asking, it's like, why that happened? What's wrong? So the second week I arrived in Flagstaff. I'm back volunteering for CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocate. From that on, go downhill. So I volunteer in a lot of organizations. I love outdoors, basically. One of the reasons that we moved to Flagstaff because of university and ski, because just 10 minutes to snowball. I know not religious as I in Alta or in Tahoe, but still skiing. I know now I'm old, I don't do that anymore, but that's the two things, outdoor and university, to bring it here. But from that on, I am volunteering. I'm outdoor chair for Sierra Club for many years at the time, and Clean and Green for the city, and also like Board of Adjustment and Diversity Commission. And later on, because of my husband become city council, I don't want to get involved in the city at all. So I step back. It's like, I don't want to know because, people is really criticizing for what actually, well, your husband wrote this and such. And I said, that's different person, different brain, different knowledge that he gained. So that's why I step back from the city involvement. And I involved in the county commission and board and court, and I still am. And also, since I'm still volunteering for the court, not only for the Coconino County, but also for the statewide. So that's basically it.
It's nice to have you here. Commissioner Bessler, are you recovered from your bike ride? Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm not quite recovered, but I will introduce myself. Yes, I apologize for having to travel, but yeah, my name's Andy Bessler. I reside near McMillan Mesa or on McMillan Mesa, and I just love Flagstaff open space for one. And then I'm neighbors with Steve Hurst, who was on the Flagstaff Open Space Commission, and he pretty much harassed me until I applied. So I'm blaming him. But it's been a real pleasure serving on this commission. I know, Lena, you've done a lot of great work just for this community in Coconino County, and I know you're going to do a great job advocating for open space and helping us advance open space programs. Mary, I look forward to meeting you, and I still haven't met Mark or Jim in person, but hopefully one day. I do have a background in trails as well. I led trail crews for like 12 years with an organization called Student Conservation Association. And so I love trail design, and I've really admired Mark's work with the Observatory Mesa Trail Plan. But the majority of my trail work these days is just kicking rocks off the trail, which there aren't many of them these days. But I work at NAU. I work for the Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals. And so essentially I administer an EPA grant to help tribes around the country consult with EPA on air quality and climate change policy. So I get to work nationally, and I feel like the work that I used to do with Sierra Club was local. I advocated for many years for land conservation, and I don't get to do much work locally anymore. So this is kind of like, I feel like an opportunity for me to work locally that I usually don't have. So that's my introduction, and apologize I can't be there in person, but thanks.
All right. Before we move on to the next item, I want to echo what Robert said for Commissioner Burton. I just, recognize, the long service and dedication to the Open Space Commission. And I think we all thank you for your time here. So just wanted to say that. All right. So down to business items. First one on the agenda is the Observatory Mesa Trail Plan, Public Review Plan. This is an informational and discussion item. Robert.
Thanks, Commissioner Wilson. Yes, so I wanted to just provide an update about where we are with our public outreach. So we did publish, as the commission knows, the Observatory Mesa, the Greater Observatory Mesa Trail Plan draft for it covers the city's Observatory Mesa National Area. And that public outreach started on June 15th. And it started with a kickoff presentation to our city council, who had a couple of comments, and that'll continue through July 24th. And our first public meeting will be coming up just this Wednesday on the 29th at City Hall Council Chambers at 211 West Aspen Avenue from 5 to 7 p.m. And I know that all of you know that already. I thought I would just restate that for your information. So there's a number of ways that the public can comment on this draft. Our draft is on our website. You can go there to view, download the draft, and review it. You can attend this public meeting on Wednesday, either virtually or in person. If you're there in person, you can provide, we'll have 3 different stations set up after a brief presentation of the plan. And then those 3 stations, you can move around and provide comment on. So those stations are going to be about naturalization, conservation, and decommission of old roads and trails. Then we'll have a station on access points, parking, signage, and educational zones, and a station on alignments, roads, and trails. And so when folks are there in person, have a map and some stickers where you can put like a success or someplace that needs additional work or a concern that they have. And then you can fill out a physical comment in association with that sticker that you post on there. So we hope to be able to accommodate folks that just kind of walk in and just want to take part for, a few minutes. And then those that want to like stay for the whole thing, come early and stay for the presentation and for the entire 2 hours. So we're hoping for a robust conversation from the public. If you're attending online, we're going to be doing the essentially same activity, but filling out your comment like in the chat of Teams, and then we will consolidate those chats into our formal public comments. If you're unable to meet this meeting on Wednesday, either virtually or in person, of course, you have the option of providing feedback through the community forum, through the Flagstaff community. And I'm just going to briefly share here on the page here, so you can kind of take a look at what that looks like. So if you just Google Flagstaff Open Space, our page will pop up. If you can click here on the Observatory Mesa page, and that will take you to the page that you see here. You'll see a link for the draft right here at the top. A link just below that to take the survey through the community forum, and some outreach details following, which have the dates and times of our public outreach. So our plan, our tentative plan, you can see if you click on that link here, is that first public comment where I just mentioned, And then the second public comment period, we hope to have in August. These are tentative dates, but we're hoping to have a second 40-day comment period after revisions are incorporated into this first draft from that first comment. So, questions or comments just on the general process that we've been working on together?
Hey, Robert, this is Andy. Just to confirm, you had the August 31st, you had me down for the August 31st public hearing, is that right?
Yes, to help, I do, Mr. Bessler. Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll be there.
I just wanted to say actually that we really appreciate all the support that we've been getting for volunteers. The Flagstaff Trail Initiative, which I know a lot of you know, developed a regional trail strategy for the city of Flagstaff just a year or two ago, and now have a nonprofit status as well. Almost their entire board is coming out to support the public meeting on the 29th. So we really appreciate their support for all of that. And I know that some of you are going to be here as well. So we appreciate your support as well. So here is our Flagstaff Community Forum. If you just Google Flagstaff Community Forum and you click on the open topics, you can see that we're listed right here. Greater Observatory Mesa Trail Plan. So do you support the Greater Observatory Mesa Trail Plan draft? You just click on that. You can see here that we have 38 responses so far. So we would love to get a lot more responses. So if you encourage your constituents, post on your social media and let folks know that it's out there and ready to take comments, we'd love to get additional comments. Other questions or thoughts? No? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and click on the plan here, and you'll see that it'll load up. It works pretty smoothly, I think. It is a big document, so it takes a little bit while to download. So I just wanted to provide some initial feedback for hearing from the public. So in our maps here, this is private one, we identified access points 2.9 and 2.24, which is just on the right. And we have been getting a number of concerns initially from this neighborhood in the Windmill Heights, which own a private parcel here where we identified a potential connector for Mesa to help increase the amount of people that have a 10-minute access walking time. So we have heard those concerns. We are going to take these access points off as we move forward with our public meeting, just so they know that we understand it's a concern. We're going to work it out. We will continue to work with the HOA to see if we can try to resolve some of the concerns. That's one thing I wanted to kind of offer as feedback that we've initially got to.
Just a quick question. If those access points aren't going to exist, will that, so that trail or that to the loop trail would not exist at all either? Is that correct?
The loop trail,
something there.
By the loop trail, you mean that 3.3 right here?
Well, yeah.
Sorry about that, everybody. We are back in action.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, sorry about the folks.
Can you hear us? Okay,
Yeah, we can hear you good.
great. Yeah, we lost internet. Sorry about that.
So Commissioner Wilson was asking about the loop trail access from North Tilly. This is a neighborhood access point providing observatory visa. The reason we identify access points here in the community is to try to improve the 10-minute access time for residents. And this is kind of the toughest area to provide connectivity to the city's natural area. So if we didn't have those possible connection points, then we would lose some 10-minute access time. But this section of property is, I should point out, private by the HOA, and it does seem that they have a lot of concerns about that, and so we think just moving forward, we're going to keep it out.
But I don't mean to beat it, but is it all private between 2.9 and section 8? Or is it just parts of it?
They own a large piece of property, of undeveloped property, that they have preserved as like a nature park for their constituents.
Okay.
So yes, this is a piece of big, large private property here. And then section 6 here, there are numerous parcels here that are also private. So I think it would be challenging to provide access. But not to say that it's not important, because we would love to try to provide additional time.
Especially on the north side.
So I just wanted to share that with commissioners, just kind of let you know that that has changed. And that is going, as we move forward, that's going to be slightly different than the direction that you want us to provide. Just because we're going to take the time.
But still working.
We will still work with the HOA to see if we can resolve those, yeah. But, see how that goes. Let me. So we are still looking for some additional volunteers. If anybody does know somebody who wants to volunteer for Wednesday, they're more than welcome to come out. We'd be happy to take on additional volunteers. We had a little training session this morning with volunteers, but we could easily do that again for any folks that are still interested in volunteering on Wednesday. And then for our next meeting in August, we are still looking for volunteers. I know some of you have already signed up for that. But if you know somebody who's interested in that, we'd love to have their participation as well. And with that, I think I can just kind of leave it at that. And, you know, if there are questions or concerns or other thoughts about the process and how we're moving forward, please let me know. Otherwise, I think we're very close to being ready to go for Wednesday. Hope for a decent time.
Is there, before we move on to the next business or the next item though, is there anybody from the public that wants to make a comment on this particular item? Or with any of the commissioners that are online?
Since I'm new in here, is that the Linwood property, the HOA that's really opposing it, or they are still open just to negotiate?
I've not received a formal comment from the HOA, although they are working on preparing a formal comment for us. Most of the comments that I've received that we're using that information based on our decision I just spoke about are people within the community. But there is concern from the HOA as well.
So the possibility is still there, not really killing it and not cutting.
We'll continue our conversation with the HOA, but because it's private property, it really is.
Hearing no other questions.
Hey, sorry, Mr. Chairman, if I can just ask one quick question. This is Andy. So I got a email from this person about the draft plan for the 29th. So I'm assuming that's going to be the same for the 31st, right?
Sorry, Commissioner Bessa, you're a little wavy. Your connection wasn't great. Could you repeat your question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Just the email I got from the facilitator was for the 29th, but I'm assuming it's the same for the 31st.
Oh, yes. So yeah, if you're on my volunteer list, we sent you the draft agenda for what the meeting was going to entail. We are going to follow the same format for the 31st. I just included, you so you're kind of all aware.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Just want to clarify. Thanks.
So I think
But the meeting on the 31st will incorporate the feedback from this particular meeting.
yes, so the draft will be slightly different.
Slightly different. Okay.
Or we, very,
Depending on what they put
yeah.
on the
Yeah,
29th.
yeah, we definitely want to create something that, supports what the community is interested in and protects the property too.
Right. All right, let's move on to item B, city council update consideration. Again, informational and discussion item.
Yeah, I can start us out. So typically on a yearly basis, the Open Spaces Commission provides an update to the city council, and it's been a little bit since we've done that. A little over a year. I don't remember exactly what. So this is just a agenda item for you all to have a discussion of when you think, or if you'd like to provide council an update on what particular topics you'd like to provide the commission, the council an update on, and the timing of them as well. Whether or not we want to try to complete some of this public outreach first, so we have a little bit more information to provide council on that. Or, at a later time, so. And I did prepare some just general topic ideas from kind of what we've been working on. So I could just kind of go through those. I thought maybe we could provide an update on the rezone completion. Although the council is somewhat aware of that since they passed up the ordinance. And we've been working on the partnership that the commission is engaging on with the Arizona Public Service at Mesa. And they have started work out there. It's looking good. They just got grass in before the monsoon started. So we're hoping that some of that will take off. Of course, the Observatory Mesa Trail Plan would be something great to provide the council update. It would be nice to have a little bit of public feedback before we do that. I do hope to move the city code that you all worked on for a while, and now has been my plate for a few months, and I haven't been able to move it forward, but that might be something that we could provide in our council on as well. I know the commission was interested in providing some regional plan recommendations, so that could be another potential topic. And then the commission also weighed in on prioritizing properties for the remaining 2004 bond fund, which is mainly reserved for foots, but we were invited to look at open space properties for those funds as well. We have a city council presentation on August 30th to council to tell them about those changes that the commission has recommended for the original ordinance. And then that eventually will go to city council for an ordinance read to update the ordinance to give staff permission to negotiate acquisitions of property. And so that could be something that the commission can provide an update as well. Those are just some of my thoughts.
One thought that I had, easements, do we want to possibly bring that up? And looking at, easements that might affect open spaces. It's a topic that we just kind of broached generally lately. But
Yeah, I mean, if you have something to provide council an update on, I think that would be a great opportunity. Another one of those that are kind of on my list to do.
So any of the commissioners have any thoughts or questions on this item? Robert? It's not.
You'll have to make a decision about it now.
That, just saying one thing, it might be good to, just bring it up as far as our management plans for each one of our open spaces and how that plays such an integral part into how we, integrate all of the different things, like how the trail plan fits into that and how that's kind of a basis for, all these other things that we're looking at. Like a springboard.
Great idea, yeah.
Anyone else have any comments or anything you want to bring up?
Good, thanks.
All right. Hearing no comment or no questions, guess we'll move on to C, which is the same.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. That's true. But before we move from,
Okay.
topic number B, it's okay. No problem. I was wondering if those topics seem acceptable, if I should maybe start putting together like a slide presentation for the council. And maybe tentatively aim for after we're done with these first two waves of public participation for the basic trip. I thought perhaps, so if everything goes smoothly, the second 40-day comment period closes September 9th or around there. So we could tentatively, as a commission, look at providing the council an update November or December, maybe at the end of the year. I don't know if that seems like an appropriate time. I know we typically try to provide an update, actually, right around this time of the year, since it's still rolling into our new fiscal year. But I'm not so sure we can get an update from them after the meetings, given that they're going to show breaks.
I'm good with that list. Any other thoughts? Proceed along down that
We
path.
can just tentatively look at this
Yeah.
fall or this winter.
Yeah.
So put some stuff together and bring it back to the commission. That all we need to think that way.
So we are thinking for October.
Well, normally,
Yeah.
a lot of times we combine our November, December meetings, so,
Yeah, we could do something like the January.
well, or, if it fell in, but, sometime in November, I just remind that we normally consolidate that Christmas, Thanksgiving, good time period.
Okay. But I think I've got enough to move forward with that, so. I'll work on putting some notes together. If you think of other topics that you think council would be interested in knowing about, or that you'd like to mention to council, please let me know. So, and we can ask Councilmember House to, she's here. I'm sure she has a recommendation. So,
No, that's, so, item C, which kind of is, are we thinking of the newsletter for
this is our quarterly newsletter. Yeah. So
when's the next?
our city clerk's office does put out a quarterly newsletter for commission updates. And let's see. I want to say this is, I haven't got a notice of it, but I imagine next month. This is an update that they'll be asking us. So I thought of a lot of the same topics as I did for the council update, but since we'll be less far along on those, maybe more of a brief update. Something that's more- So I kind of have the same questions for that. I realize that these are kind of general discussion items, but if there are other topics that the commission would like to mention or happy to take it.
Any comments from commissioners or the public before we move on? All right.
None here, thanks.
All right. Item D, open space program budget breakdown. Again, informational discussion.
Yeah, this is, again, just me providing a little update to the commission, I'll keep you guys in the loop. So the city council did approve the budget team's recommendations, which I think I mentioned the last time. We put in a request for an open space coordinator position. So that essentially would give us a new position there. And we put in a request for a reclassification of the open space supervisor position, which also is something that I think really needed to be done. So we did obtain those two requests. And then we got our request for the ongoing management and maintenance of ongoing funds of $7,500 a year. So that'll help go towards maintaining our properties. And then we got a one-time management and maintenance fund of $7,500 as well. So our total request was 15. Actually, so half of that was ongoing, half of it was approved as just for this fiscal. So very excited about that. If everything goes well, we are looking at working with HR in July to classify those two positions. And then once they're classified in that process, then we can start the outreach and looking for folks that are interested in working for the firm. Great. So yeah, really awesome. We're very excited. And then Sylvia Struce, she was in the Volunteer Service to America position. Her position is coming to a close. And so we really appreciate her service to us. She's worked for us for 2 years in a full-time capacity as a volunteer, which is pretty impressive, and she's done a great job.
Great.
And we hope that she'll apply as well for some of the openings that we'll have. In addition to the open space coordinator position, we also have some educational funds from Arizona State Park System for a heritage grant, which would fund a position up to $50,000 to support education and volunteer management. So that will be a 1-year position, and we are also going to work with our HR to classify as a city position. And then we hope to fund that again through grant funding the following year with another successful grant application. So yeah, things are looking up. I think it's really great. It's going to be pretty tight for our program for the next couple of months until we get some of those positions on board. I would really love to see that we bring the folks on later in the And then in addition to that, I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of our budget. So our fiscal year ends here at the end of this month, and then our new budget will take place. We have identified some property management type costs already. We're just barely in the process of finishing a complete property survey for Basin. They looked at all of the basin needs on the Arizona State list. There's a lot going on there, as you might imagine. So we'd love to try to be able to fund the basic weed mitigation and observatory baseline. Because of the property size, it is quite large, and that could be a pretty expensive task to do. We have not we've not budgeted yet for it. It's in our purview for thinking about for this next fiscal year. We want to continue to try to fund a portable toilet out in Picture Canyon. The cost for portable toilets are going up, so that's something for us to plan and consider as well. And then we do have some trail repairs that we've been working on at Picture Canyon with volunteers. It might be worth us to consider kind of funding some additional repairs, although we do have a grant that we're hoping comes through in July from the state also for it's called the Recreation Trails Program. Should do some trail work on it. We carried some of our, we got a one-time request last year of $19,000 from the budget team and from city council that was helpful for trail planning and community outreach for the Observatory Mesa Trail. We carried some of those funds since we haven't spent those in this fiscal year forward to complete that project, so we'll be spending those funds as well. We would like to continue our support with the education that we've been doing. We've been partnering with the Willamette Environmental Center for a number of years now. And they offer third grade educational programming for all third graders. And a lot of schools take them up on that, and that includes a field trip out to Picture Canyon. So we'd like to be able to continue funding that. We've been paying around $4,500 for that, which is very reasonable. They use our funds as a match from funds from the school system. And so those costs may go up, but we'd love to try to continue that. We also like to continue to try to offer our community guided walks with their assistance. And this past year, we worked with Willamette Environmental Center to complete a grant from the Tula for the People, which funded us a couple of years ago. And we're working with Indigenous students and getting them outside and interested in STEM related careers that are really in the outdoors. That was a pretty successful program, I think. We would love to continue that type of program as well. So we're looking at reapplying for the Tula for the People grant. We thought that was a good fit, and maybe trying to continue that as well. So continuing some funds for education. So I just want to kind of provide the commission kind of a basic idea of kind of what we're thinking for expenditures this year. I know it's not the commission's job to appropriate our money, but if you had thoughts about where you think we should be spending money, I'm certainly open to hearing those recommendations. And then we can try to plan for those accordingly as we. Well, I think that's all I have really in a nutshell. So if there are questions or comments about our fiscal budget or thoughts on expenditures, feel free to let me know.
Commissioners, anybody?
Yeah, I'm just, this is Andy. I'm just kind of wondering how we can maybe look at prioritizing, those in the community that have a greater need. I know the Biden administration, has this EJ40 framework that they're looking at essentially devoting 40% of their income to. Sorry, am I cutting out again?
You're good.
Oh, sorry. But the Biden administration has this framework of like 40% of all the funds should go to disadvantaged communities or environmental justice communities, and it's hard to implement. But I think there's mapping tools that we could use to just make sure that the funds are getting used by those in the community that are in the greatest need. I'm just trying to think of ways maybe we could try to think about that.
Thanks, Commissioner Bessler. Yeah, it turns out that a lot of our funds do go directly to property maintenance. That can be pretty expensive to upkeep. We did conduct an access analysis in 2018, which assessed who in the community has access time that is 20 minutes or zero to 20 minutes. And we looked at where access could be improved. And ultimately, I think the open space program's goal, and I think this is a collective city goal as well, is to provide 10-minute access walking time to all neighborhoods, for all residents. We do have a very long way to go with that. Although I think that the steps that the commission has helped us take with the observatory-based trailhead is leading us in that direction. So that is one thing that we're doing to try to provide folks with underprivileged folks that don't have access to open space. We're trying to provide that through that means. But if there are other ideas that the commission has or that you guys will have, I'm happy to consider those as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to get some more data. I'm trying to remember if you've given us data on usage, just kind of annual, who's actually using the trail systems and where do they live, and it's kind of and this is just not for right now. This is just kind of ongoing, I think, effort.
Oh, yeah, it's great questions, great things to be thinking about. I think it's pretty hard for us to gauge that type of data, that type of user at our space, since most of our data is collected from a trail counter, which just counts everybody the same. We do have a registration box at Picture Canyon where people can volunteer to write like their name and why they're visiting the preserve. And we did expand that. I think that might have been a commission recommendation. We expanded the register box questions to include a question. And I can't recall specifically what it says, but it says something about if you identify with a race outside of white, and if you, I don't want to quote, I don't know, I can't, but there are a couple of like questions in that register box that help us gauge like diversity of our users.
Right.
It's actually,
because I just, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's been pretty interesting to read through those. Not everybody does comment. And some people do ask why we're asking, but that has been interesting that I think that for me, I've come to understand that our diversity of use is actually greater than I originally thought. So
Yeah, like I'm wondering, Robert, if there's an opportunity where like the city surveys a section of the city residents, and you can pop on one or two questions, like asking about open space, to just kind of gauge people. Because I just know the reason I bring this up is the one issue is that if you measure this by time traveled to an open space, essentially the worst place in the city, and I may be wrong, was Country Club. So if we're measuring for like people with close access to open space, Country Club is the area that has the least, from what I remember hearing. So I just feel like there's probably some better measures that we might be able to use.
yeah, point well taken. Yeah, I think a community survey would be nice. We have done some community surveys in the past with somewhat mixed results. We were part of an NAU program of which we surveyed the McMillan and Lisa community to gauge like whether or not they knew about it, whether or not they knew like where access points, whether or not they knew where to find out about educational opportunities in our space and things like that. And I do think like there are many people that live right next to McMillan Mason who didn't really have an understanding that it was protected and preserved right for their community. So I do think like there is more public education outreach that we can do along those lines. I also think like the heritage grant funds that we have will help us achieve some of that this year, just by reaching out to the local schools. I think a lot
that'd be great.
of schools is helpful, and hopefully will lead us in that direction.
That's great.
I can share that access, a snapshot of that access map you should see them all around the top.
The GIS.
So this is just a screenshot, and I think it's actually it's a little challenging to see what's going on. But the dark green is 5-minute access time to open space, and in this access analysis, we're including county open space and Forest Service open space as like helping us to meet the 10-minute access time. If we didn't include that in our access analysis, you'd see a lot more red. This is an access analysis where we don't include like neighboring Forest Service or county as helping us to meet our goal. And this one is including those areas. So dark green is 5-minute access. The light green has 10-minute access. The yellow has 15-minute access. The orange has 20-minute access, and the red has greater than 20.
I think the other piece of that too was the access points that were utilized to, because like, you know, a lot of the places around Observatory Mesa, even though literally you could walk there in 5-10 minutes, it showed up red because there was no established access points.
Yeah, because it's not a formal access point. That's absolutely right, Mr. Burton. So if you look at Fisher Canyon, to the north here, everything said it has a greater than a 20-minute or greater time. But many of those personal residents have an access point directly into the observatory, but it's not formal. So that's good. So there's some work that we need to do to formalize some access points. Well, I appreciate those comments, Commissioner Bessler, and as we move forward with this education position, that is something that we will think about as far as like how we can reach out to folks that.
I think that's a great idea. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions before we move on? All right, so item E, mission field trip point. This one sounds interesting.
Yeah, so this is just for us to have an open discussion about our next meeting. And I know we have a lot of new commissioners, and hopefully we are a full commission by our July meeting. And I know not everybody is familiar with our properties. One of the thoughts that came out in the questions was whether or not we were going to have a property visit. I'd be more than happy to have a trip out to our different properties if you guys are interested. I tentatively looked into getting transportation for that as well. Recreation has a passenger van that they would lend to us if we were all interested in kind of like traveling out together. We'd have to wait until we actually arrived on site to have a discussion in case members of the community wanted to join us, and we'd have to stay on a somewhat set schedule so the public could come out and attend with us. Since we would have a quorum. And so I wanted to see if the commission had input about whether or not you'd be interested in that and available for that, and what you think would be helpful.
Thinking of this as a, instead of the regular meeting, so it'd be the same meeting day. And
I kind of thought since we already have that scheduled, that maybe just holding it for the same meeting day might be helpful, but we could do a different time if that was helpful as well.
Any discussion?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Norton. Thanks, Robert, for giving some thought to this suggestion. I would really like to see us do a visit, even though I've hiked and walked in a lot of these trails. it wasn't with the vision of now this commission where there's areas that, maybe need to be called out to us to pay attention to, or things that are under consideration, especially some of those easement issues that were brought up in the last meeting that were being worked on. So I would love to have a field trip out to some of these properties and to have you walk us through them.
I feel the same because I really just, I know in my neighborhood and I know where usually I walk, but others than that, I really just don't know. So that will be useful.
I agree. I think it would be quite useful if we all see the same thing at the same time and kind of have the same understanding.
We used to do field trip meetings, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or so, and it was awesome. They're such great experiences, but that's how we went through and looked at a lot of the city-owned parcels, built the matrix based on those different attributes, and we went out and visited, and sometimes had 2 meetings a month just to be able to get through a lot of that stuff. But yeah, being able to go out and look at, the open space together with everybody's thoughts and different visions, it's pretty powerful.
People online, any thoughts or?
This is Commissioner Loseth. Thinking back on some of the recent meetings where, we were all virtually, and unfortunately I'm not able to attend this meeting in person, but I remember when we were looking at potential parcels to look into for inclusion into the open space, Mike went out and did some research for us, and he took a bunch of good photos. And I was just thinking about how valuable Mike's time and effort was into the conversations that were framed around it. And so if we're doing that as a group, I just think it's the conversations and the information that come out of it are going to be that much more meaningful, and fully support the idea.
Thank you.
So one approach I was thinking is we could just plan a trip to a property, or we could try a very full trip and try to bump out to each of our properties and go to an access point. We could very easily do Shoals Creek probably. We could stop at Thorpe Park or Julius and maybe just drive over Railroad Springs access so you can see that access point. Then we can maybe do a drive around McMillan Mesa so you kind of see where the property boundary is and where the neighborhood accesses the McMillan Mesa. And then we could maybe drive out to Picture Canyon if we had time and do a falls or walk out to the Petra River. That would be a pretty ambitious trip to try to do all of those in a couple of hours. But you guys haven't seen me driving that, so I think it's doable. But we could also split it up to a couple of meetings too. So really, it's open up for advice about how you want to do it.
Well, if we schedule it, it's like for the July meeting, if that's really raining hard too, are we still going? So that's, we have to have the plan B.
Rain or shine.
Right. But that means it's couldn't walk around. I don't know.
Yeah, very nice. But we could do more of a driving.
Yeah. If it's driving, it might be.
Maybe, yeah, maybe if we split it up. Over
That we can split up a couple
couple
meetings.
weeks, then we
Sure.
spend a little more time at each place and
That's a great idea, Mike. I like that.
I agree. This is Mary. I agree maybe to break it up, and maybe that would make things a little easier with, open meeting and being able to tell the public where we'll be for a meeting in case they wanted to join.
just this.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because Picture Canyon has that great little amphitheater area. Got the Buffalo Park Ramada. Observatory Mesa. Maybe we can do some with Lowell, and have the event there. You know, like just do. Yeah, I love that idea. And then, of course, as I've reiterated in the past, I will bring snacks. So if there are 3 times for snacks, I may need some help. Just saying.
Just saying.
Okay, well then, for our next agenda, we'll plan, for us to be out at least for some portion of the time, probably the entire meeting, I would just assume. And then we'll see how much we accomplish, and then we can arrange another meeting out in the field at a later time.
Readjust if we have to.
And so just for clarity, this is for like seeing our legally designated open space property. If there are other requests that you want to try to visit other properties, like when we're gonna, like if we review properties again, we can try to plan more trips, since I know we didn't get a chance to do that.
Might be good to take a field trip to the recommended parcels that
They're going-
looking at being recommended.
that's a little challenging to some of them are private or private. But maybe after we're negotiating the property.
So that's for the next month, right? Yeah.
So our next meeting is July 25th, July 25th. Maybe. So yeah, if you guys pencil that in, we can plan out a field trip. I've got the van reserved already. And I will drive, right?
All right. Any other comments before we move on to the next item?
Sorry, could you repeat the date?
July 25th is our next meeting.
July 25th. Thank you.
Item F, hybrid versus virtual meetings. Also an informational discussion item.
Yeah, this is just for you guys as well. I know that this is our second like in-person option meeting. And I thought I would put this on here so you all could have a discussion about how you'd like to proceed, whether you'd like to proceed with these in-person options. Or, you know, if we feel like we were achieving everything in a virtual platform before, we could move back to a virtual platform as well, just stay completely virtual. I wasn't trying to push you all in any one direction. I just wanted to make sure that we're, you know, if we're getting a lot of public participation, these sort of things, and they're helpful for the public to have another option as opposed to logging on, then I think it's great if we can continue these in person. But if it doesn't really seem like a lot of the public really wants to make use of it, it might be easier for the kind of commission, less staff time, just going at a completely virtual option. So I thought maybe one of the things we could do is just continue as we are for a while, and in a few months reassess and see if the commission has some thoughts on it. I'll open it up for your discussion.
I'll start it. I kind of like thought of keeping it the way it is right now as a hybrid, like you say, for a few months. You know, things get, you know, so that it kind of comes and goes and up and down, and I would like to be able to have the option of staying at home, doing it virtual if I thought that I needed to, but I also would prefer coming in and doing it in person. But personally, I'd like to have the option. That's my 2 cents. Any other comments?
This is Mary Norton. I had intended to come in and be in person today and just wasn't able to get there on time. So it was nice to have this virtual option available. I do like having that as a backup. I think if we're going to do these field trips, obviously that gets us in person. At least we all get to meet for a couple times. But I support having the option to have virtual as well for whatever reasons. I think it's better to get you to quorum, and with COVID numbers going up and down, I think it's a good option to have. Thanks.
Any other thoughts? Just trying to continue the way we're going then. But
Sounds good. Yeah.
So continue mean that's like just, we could have the option to, for people to come here, but also could join. Okay.
it might help if somebody's out. If they
Yeah.
can't make it, you can log in remotely and still be present.
Have the forum at least.
All right, and I guess we're down to reports and updates. So I guess you have the update from council.
Yeah, Councilmember Kira House couldn't make it this evening. She had another meeting. But she did send me an email with some brief updates for the commission that she wanted me to share. So I'll just go ahead and read through these. She said July will be recognized as Parks and Recreation Month at the July 5th meeting. We will also be making the final appointment to the Open Spaces Commission. There will be considerations of a preliminary and final plats for some housing developments. As housing options and park developments expand, I assume the Open Spaces Commission may want to consider how resource protection and open space may be preserved in and around areas of development to further align and support mutual benefits of these developments. And then their second update was that they will be returning from break on August 22nd with a special meeting on August 23rd that will include regional plan, downtown mile project, etc. discussions. And as we head into September, there will be some discussion regarding a cell tower opportunity at the future Cheshire Park expansion. That's scheduled for September 13th. So those are the couple of updates that she had from council that she thought the commission might be interested in.
Was that a new cell tower?
Yes,
Cheshire?
it's a proposed cell tower on park property.
And she had a general statement here as well that she'd be interested in hearing from open space commissioners on the impact of increased flood risk to open space areas, mitigation concerns to preserve and protect land trails, etc. As we consider future flooding mitigation and other infrastructure projects. And she welcomes commissioners to reach out to her about thoughts on that topic and would like to share and have some considerations of open space. Now we can Flagstaff. If you have any questions, I'll just follow up with an email.
And the open space management report?
Yeah, that's me. So, let me share my screen. So I'm sure you guys know that we're at stage 3 partial fire restrictions, plus the pipeline fire closures are in effect for the city, county, and the Coconino National Forest. And just in case you're not aware, the use of propane and gas barbecues, including those with and non-off switching, are prohibited in both parks, open space, and private. The use of propane and gas barbecue grills those who are on off switch are allowed at private residence except during red flag warnings. Public access to sections of the foot trail system that provide entrance into the Coconino National Forest System. Observatory National Area is closed because of the leading, that leads into the lead points leading into the mesa are also closed because of the neighboring Forest Service. The Schultz Creek Natural Area is closed. And Buffalo Park on the Switzer Canyon Trail, we can Buffalo Park. I'm just going to share my screen. We have got a number of community emails from this about confusion, so I just wanted to share this with you. So in return, share with the public. So here's Observatory Mesa, that's closed. The Loop Trail, Mars Hill, and the Tunnel Springs Trail is closed with Mesa as well. And then Thorpe Park, the disc golf course is open, but the trail that extends up beyond that is Schultz Creek up here is closed, Buffalo Park, and the Switzer Canyon Trail leading to Buffalo Park. And then all the access points into the forest. So, just wanted to share with you. If you have questions?
Do you, does the city have any type of, I guess, trigger for when they're going to remove their restrictions and closures as far as precipitation amounts or fuel moistures or anything like that, or does it usually coincide just with what the partners are doing?
Yeah, we just follow suit.
Yep, it's been well over an inch of rain on observatory. Might be more flood risk than fire risk at this point.
We also are, as you probably know, our fire department works closely with all of the regional partners. They have a weekly meeting to discuss fire type, conditions in the forest. And then they inform each other of what they're each going to be doing. As Robert said, we typically follow the lead of our partner agencies. The only, just to clarify, the main reason Observatory Mesa is closed is because of the area closures for service that included that middle Forest Service property. So we needed to close access to the Forest Service property. Correct me, Robert, but that's my understanding. Like McMillan Mesa and Picture Canyon are still open. So yeah, if the city went into our next stage of fire restrictions, then our open spaces, I believe. But I think that would follow suit of a full forest closure. So hopefully that makes sense.
How often do they get together to review
Once a week,
which way they're going?
it's weekly.
Weekly? I missed that.
Do you think we can expect to have that open by 4th of July weekend?
I don't know, you get around, so I haven't heard.
But
I don't
no,
think anyone's
it's
super
fine.
excited to open things back up before. Mary has her hand up.
Okay. Commissioner Norton.
Yes, I thought I had seen on Facebook that Buffalo Park had reopened. Is that, I haven't been up there since it supposedly reopened, but I wondered if that's true.
It is reopened, yes. The main reason Buffalo Park was closed, first of all, it was access to the forest at the back end of Buffalo Park, but then we were hosting some of the camp crews that were actually camping there. And they have moved on, so Buffalo Park is now open.
Thanks for clarifying.
You bet. I just got an update. Actually, I really did just get an update if you want an update.
Yeah, please.
It looks like City of Flagstaff, Coconino, and Kaibab National Forest and Coconino County will be lifting all fire restrictions effective tomorrow at noon. The only closure that will remain in place will be the emergency fire closure for the pipeline fire, which is being adjusted and updated. So that gives us a whole lot of notice to get out there and reopen our property.
Oh my God, it's worrying, fire, if not raining more. That is,
I just got a few other things that I'll mention. I mentioned that we are basic plant survey at Georgia Mesa. We're wrapping up with that. And then we do have the opportunity to apply for a basic plant grant through the Department of Fire and Forestry Management. We could provide funds for mitigating plants there. So we are working on that. We are also working in tandem with the Flagstaff Trail Initiative with an etiquette campaign. And they have done a lot of work with a C grant from the state and provided us at no charge some free signs to promote etiquette, trail etiquette. They've asked us to install those on Observatory Mesa, which we're working on. And then we have more or less wrapped up the Contuga for the People educational grant that we have. So that was a great success. And then we just applied for the Tohono O'odham Nation grant for additional educational funds to support the heritage educational position. So those are just a few things that are. Those are really all the updates I have.
Anyone have any questions for Robert? Last meeting mentioned, I brought up about the lease agreement, Picture Canyon, the water. You said that, I think, if I understood you correctly, we're going to have a meeting in June. Is that taking place?
Yeah, so what Commissioner Wilson is referring to is we have an agreement, actually, in Arizona Game and Fish has an agreement with the city to release a certain number of gallons to the Wildcat water treatment plant through the riparian agreement. And that agreement expires in the year 2030. And so we did actually have a brief meeting with our legal team about how best to approach their either renewal. It wouldn't be a renewal with Arizona Game and Fish, since their agreement expires. It would be like a city internal. I don't know if you want to call it some kind of internal document that states that the Wildcat treatment plant will continue to release for the of the preserve there. And so we are currently kind of reviewing how best to approach that, how best to approach watersheds and response.
So be an internal agreement.
I think it will, yeah. That's kind of the way that our rule is.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think it's honestly one other thing I should mention. So the current agreement includes Francis Short Run and I-41s and Fisher Canyon. And the portion that I'm working on is for the treatment. It does not include those other two. So that is something that water services or top water services.
I didn't realize that it involved the others as well. Okay. All right. Down to item number 8. Informational items to and from the commissioners and staff.
Do any of the commissioners have anything, the items that they want to bring up and or share with the commission?
I do. In my last meeting and all. Just to give, I just want to be able to give a little bit of, I guess, my experience, my career and all those things and kind of bring that, one of the biggest risks that our open spaces face is both fire and resulting flood. That are, could be detrimental to what those open spaces are. And so, I know, places like, Picture Canyon, we've had a lot of fuels management up there, done pile burns, a lot of the same stuff over on Observatory. I know there's been work, on that east aspect of Mill Mesa. So a lot of great stuff, but really looking at, how do we then, we do these initial work to try to bring back our vegetation, our open spaces back to what that normalcy would be as far as, trees per acre and those type of things. But the reality is that it is an initial treatment, but really what does maintenance look like going into the future? And knowing that we live in a fire adapted ecosystem, how does fire play a pivotal role, within our open spaces to be able to manage them for resiliency, be able to release, the seeds from our forbs and whatnot to really, enhance those. So, that's something I think about a lot, especially with Observatory Mesa, because it is in a quite vulnerable position, much more so than any of our other properties. I know we've done a lot of work there, but there's still a lot of work to do, on the slope. And we did have that fire on the slope there on Lowell property, just above Railroad Springs. And so, thinking about, we've done all that work, but how do we not let that slip away? And I think, a lot of that is with, how we manage that with the Flagstaff Fire Department Fuels Program. And so I guess my ask is that we get a plan for how we implement fire on our open space with the Flagstaff Fire Department, so that we can get into that, sequential yearly maintenance of maintaining those properties with fire. As much research from NAU, ERI, all those places have told us is needed in the Ponderosa Pine. And furthermore, how we can then also interpret and educate our, users, the public, on the benefits of fire. Because I know we see a lot of fire that's really bad, this time of year. And I know what we just saw is, it's pretty devastating. But really, how can we, take it to the next piece of, not preventing fire, but living with fire, because that's where we live. So just wanted to add those two things in there. And I know, a lot of the other partners around the area are, they work on that a ton, but I think the city can have a really big role in how to, I guess, push that message and really take it to the next level. And one, to lead others, but also to, protect our assets. That's all I have.
I'll actually touch base with her and see what our.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really good thing, because I find them as our best risk management tool for our open spaces. So not just, suppressing fires that occur, but putting good fire before the bad fire occurs.
Any good things to think about? Appreciate that. Anyone else have anything that they want to bring up? Hearing
none, potential future agenda items. Again, our next meeting is July 25th, which I guess field trip.
That's good.
And want to talk about some of the other things on the list, or?
Yeah, I'm happy to comment on these, they're all works in progress, honestly, so, I'm still ways out. Feedback the commission mostly. I thought maybe we could talk about the open space commission term of office actually at our next meeting. Since we'll have a full commission at that time to talk about selecting position. The commission's priorities, the city code has been working on. Obviously, the grid to previous plan is in the works. And I'll continue to provide you an update on that. The North Mesa management plan that we're waiting to essentially wrap up a few key items. And then we're essentially done with the rezone process. We're essentially done with the rezone, just a couple of simple tasks are still on. Which are the property combination. They combining all the parcels into one parcel for better management. Move forward. And our archaeological survey, which is so we done with that very, very soon. And then the regional plan updates. I think I can't remember exactly where this one landed, but we had talked about reviewing the plan more thoroughly and preparing a written statement, some kind of a level of updates we'd like to see. We did our initial exercise with Sarah Decker and her team, but I think like we do need some follow-up. Can't remember. I'll have to go back through it and see what we're talking about. And then the Down Weaver Trail line proposal is still in the works. We don't have anything to share.
Would that even be possible to look at?
Yeah, when you're on a picture canyon, we could look at essentially like where they're proposing for the one. Yeah.
I know there's this trail.
Yeah.
Not
That's a great idea.
different.
Yeah, so I'll continue plugging away on this, and hopefully eventually it goes back and we can finish this discussion.
Any commissioners have anything that they want to see on the as a future agenda? Where that wasn't talked about before we wrap things up. Hearing none, I guess, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. This is Mary Norton.
All right,
I'll second.
all right. Mr. Britton, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, you guys have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
So, volunteering against them.